Hello, and welcome along to tonight's stream. I hope everyone is doing well in our current new norm, as I keep saying, but I hope everyone's doing well anyway. The plan for tonight is, I know I feel a little bit like a broken record, but we're getting very close. 17 months. Wow. Thank you very much, Matthias. That is a long time. The focus of tonight's stream is I'm getting very, very, very close to getting Cake.Recipe 2.0 out. So I know for the last couple of weeks we have been concentrating on Git Release Manager and trying to get some new features in for that. Artur has been going nuts and Kim's been going nuts to get some new features out on there. But I really want to start closing the gap on getting Cake.Recipe 2.0 shipped. So, really? So, hold on. Is anybody else? How many people are seeing issues? Let's see if I can. Let me see if I can clean up some stuff here. Close out some of these. See if that helps any. Any better? Okay, don't know. So I closed some applications. So Maurice over the weekend was it? When did I speak to Maurice? Maurice put a bee in my ear about bringing a topic onto the stream. Great topic, but in order to facilitate that, I need to have another machine. Long story short, I can't do what I need to do on my Mac. So I have resurrected a laptop from the precipice of being thrown out, and I'm hoping that that's going to be enough to see what you did there, Maurice. I hope that's going to be enough to allow me to bring people onto the stream again. So that is in the works. That was what I was doing over the weekend. Updates after Windows updates, but got there in the end. So I'm hoping to be able to do that. But that might help with offloading some of the work that I do by putting it somewhere else. So long story short, that's where I'm going with it. But not quite there yet. So for tonight, does it? Not quite that old. I know I'm old, but I'm not that old. You youngsters, seriously. Anyway, tonight, it's all about Cake.Recipe, and what I want to concentrate on, unless we go down a little rabbit hole, is documenting the process of upgrading from something that's using a 1.x version of Cake.Recipe and upgrading it to a 2.x. So there's lots of breaking changes. There is lots of configuration changes that need to happen, and we've kind of done that piecemeal a couple of times as I've been testing things out. I know that Kim has been doing the same. We've been making little changes here and there. So I want to get it all documented. So the idea is that we capture all the things that need to happen in here, and then that will flow through into the shiny new docs that we have. So I saw that Pascal was in the chat room there. I have unashamedly stolen the documentation, layout, structure, everything that he did for Cake.Issues, and I have done the exact same thing for Cake.Recipe. So there's a lot more docs than there was before. I've tried to capture all the things that I think we need to document. There's probably still a lot of stuff in there that needs to happen, but like I say, I stole all the work that Pascal did, and thank you for that, by the way, Pascal, in Cake.Issues, and I've made it Cake.Recipe documentation similar to that. So if you are using Cake.Recipe, have a look at the docs, see if there's anything missing, and what's that? Perfect. Then I can start editing files in other Git when you're focused. Watching you. But that was the whole point in setting up that org, Matthias. So have at it. Have at it. I'm talking about the laptop. I'm talking about some days, Maurice. Some days, Maurice, I feel as old as that. Anyway, so the one I'm going to play with is I basically picked one. So I've got multiple add-ins that I kind of caretaker over. The one I've picked to use as my scapegoat is Cake.DotNetVersionDetector. It's a reasonably new add-in, so it'll reasonably be up to speed in terms of already using CS-Proj formats, or the new CS-Proj format, that sort of stuff, running .NET Core, that sort of stuff. So I want to capture, there's kind of two different projects at this point. There is Cake.Recipe enabled projects that are running .NET Core already, so they've already made the switch and transition, and those ones we'll have to capture. There's another type of project that is using Cake.Recipe running a full .NET Framework build. So I want to capture this one, which is one that's kind of already been updated, and the steps we have to go through to fix up these ones, and then there'll be another one to capture other things that we miss. So, and yes, Kim correctly points out, if you are using Cake.Recipe, you should be pinning to a specific version because we're getting very close to releasing. And if you're not pinned, then lots of things are going to break, as you'll find out as we go through this process. So I guess the first thing that we need to do is we need to switch over to, well, let's get a github.com cake.contrib Cake.DotNetVersionDetector. Let's get an issue created for this one. So there's some open pull requests. That can only be for some Dependabot stuff. Not going to worry about that just now, but there is some Cake stuff in there because they will need to get bumped. Well, no, that's not true. That's not true. Let's leave those ones just now. Let's concentrate on just the upgrading to Cake.Recipe. So we'll do upgrade to Cake.Recipe 2.2.0. This will be a build label. I'll assign it to me, and the milestone that this is going out on will be this one. Using the pre-release package to test things out. Okay, let's get an issue that we can start. That's an interesting merge Cake.testing. I guess you could do that. Yeah, there's no reason. Yeah, that would work. That would work. So let's do git checkout -b feature gh-58 from develop, and let's see if we can start breaking things. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is we are going to want to change this to be something else. So that something else is, rather than using the NuGet package that is Cake.Recipe from NuGet.org, let's pull it in from Azure repos. So as part of the updating of Cake.Recipe, we're now publishing the Cake.Recipe NuGet package to GitHub repositories, GitHub package repository, to MyGet still, although MyGet is inherently broken, and we are publishing it to GitHub package repository, Azure repositories, and then ultimately to NuGet.org as well. So the pre-releases available here just now. So I'm going to do the exact opposite of what I said to do, which was to pin to a specific version. I'm going to say, just give me the latest one because I'm going to play with it, right? So if I do that, I expect a lot of stuff to break. So let's see what happens, right? So all I've done there is I've changed the preprocessor directive to use Cake.Recipe 2.0.0 pre-release. Now, the first thing it's going to need to change, and these are the kind of things that we need to document, is that we're going to need to update the version of Cake that we're using for the build. So previously, Cake.Recipe 1.x would have been pinned to 0.32.1, and we can see that likely in here. Yes, so this is going to need to change to 38.4. So let's update, go over here and see what we're going to want to do. Let's edit this and let's just keep them going. What we need to do. So the things we've done: change, pre-processor directive, and then we're going to need to pin to updated version of Cake, and that's going to be 0.38.4. Now, there typically with this sort of thing, we kind of say pin to the lowest version of Cake that you can. The lowest version of Cake that can be used in this instance is 38.4. It's not 38.0, it's 38.4 because there was a change to the way string.format was processed in one of the point releases. I think it was the 0.4 release, and we need to use 0.38.4. So all of that lovely red text is because there is a bunch of stuff we're using in Cake.Recipe 2 that isn't in that earlier version of Cake. So all of that wall of text, hopefully, will be fixed by doing this. And if we go back and build that again, then hopefully all of that red text is going to disappear and we shall have less red text. And the less red text is going to be around things that are in here. So let's have a look. A wild, oh what? I'm not. Again, so I'm starting to wonder whether I should be doing things slightly differently. In terms of, I think I will have to move to doing things slightly differently. Okay. The more I try and bring in of certain things, the more, so this thing here is currently a VM running on my local machine. I think I'm going to move that to a hosted VM, maybes. Because my Mac doesn't necessarily like it. So running OBS and the VM, Mac it sounds like it's taken off. It's like a rocket. It's a way to shoot off. You should try and revive. So I would if I didn't think it was completely broken. The age. If I didn't think it was completely broken, then I would. But it's literally lying in a heap under me here, so it might be resurrectable, but I haven't looked into it. Okay, so this one is saying that it doesn't have a parameter called should run git version. So there's a couple things with regard to this one. So previously, should run git version setting it to true was required because in Cake.Recipe 1.x, git version would only run when it was running on Windows. Now that's a historical thing because git version never run on anything but Windows. But in the new version of Cake.Recipe, we've switched that default over, so it's now enabled by default everywhere. But we also changed the parameter name because Kim correctly pointed out and added a contribution which says, well, you might want to use something other than git version to assert your semantic version number. And that you can absolutely do. And that is in the documentation. So if you wanted to switch to using something other than git version to assert your version number, you can absolutely do that doing something like that. So I documented it, check me out. So the fix here would be to remove this because we don't need that. So let's do that and then let's run the build again. refresh. RTX 30XX just shipped, so obviously the old one's broken. And see, if I could justify a new rig, I would. We're not all Patrick. with his new shiny machine. So unfortunately, not just now. Okay, what's this now? Could not find an installer for the .NET scheme. Okay, making progress. So Cake.Recipe now has a how do we say? Cake.Recipe now has a, it pushes things towards using .NET Global tools. So if you are using run .NET Core, it's going to assume that you want to use the .NET Global tool versions of the tools that it's exercising. So if we drill down into Cake.Recipe here, and we look in, then we look in tool settings in here, then all of the tools that are being used by Cake.Recipe, where they can be, there is a global tool version of that tool. So for example, here, there is, why can't I find one for looking? Here's YAM. So YAM tool is a string that points at the full fat .NET framework version of the YAM.exe. But the YAM global tool here is a string which points at the .NET Core version of YAM. So these preprocessor directives that are defined here either look at a .NET tool, or it looks at a tool hosted in a NuGet package. So if you are running this, it will favor the .NET Global tool versions of the tools. But in order to install those, you have to run the bootstrapper, or rather, you have to run the bootstrap method within your build.ps1 file so that it can resolve first the .NET tool module to then be able to install those tools. So it's a little bit of a chicken and egg, which might be fixed within Cake release 1.0, but that's a story for a different day. So, fortunately, no one listing it for sale in my country yet. Not surprised though. Would this be something for your new build? Don't show me things, buddies. Don't. What are you showing me? Oh, is this? Oh, that's a pretty monitor, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's kind of ridiculous, but I should bring it up in the stream. Hold on. Go over here. See, I was worried about rabbit holes, but it's all good because this is pretty shiny. If I thought I could justify one of these, but yeah, that's a crazy monitor. Is this Mike, or is this the guy from? I think I read this blog. Is this one of the? Is this the? I'm trying to say. Is this the guy from Veeam? Look at that. Oh, that's shiny. By far the most expensive you can see. Yes, that's kind of crazy. Headphones. He's got the same webcam, so it is. It's Michael Cade, so it is who I thought it was. That's the same. That's the same camera that I've got here. Oh, he's got a much. What's that? He's got. Okay, I've got one of those. Okay, I'll book that mark for later, because that's very cool. So I was in here. Where was I going to look at? I was going to look at my build.ps1. So I've got one that I did earlier over here, so that we can not get too sidelined. So that was there, and then remove should run git version parameter, and then we're going to update bootstrapper to include bootstrap command. What I want to do is look at doing this. copy this. I'm going to go over to down to here, and what I'm hoping is that this is going to work. Cake arguments, that looks good. Let's do that, and then let's try and do my other version of it at the same time. Copy. Do that. Okay. So if we run this again, fingers crossed, we should. I think we break his name. So this should run the bootstrap command, which will look to see what modules we have in, or what modules we're using. So one of the things, there's a new modules.cake file in here that has a list of all the modules that we're currently using. There's only one at the minute within Cake.Recipe 2.0, and it's the .NET Tool module. So that should download and place that into the right place. Then it will have the .NET scheme available when it resolves tools, and that will then run the .NET global tool versions of the tools that Cake.Recipe needs when it needs it. So I then got a Twitter notification to say that. Oh, no, hold on. Where did that go? That must have been from someone else. Oh no, tweet's been deleted. Come back to it. So let's see if this runs, and then we'll see where we're going to go next. So before I lose too much of those changes, I'm going to update this. I think it's downloading tools. There we go. Oh, did it? Interesting. Okay, so that's at least running. There's one other thing that we definitely need to change though, and it's not going to trip us up until we push up to at there. But the name of this target has changed. So previously, I got a notification, and then when I clicked on Twitter, it said it didn't work. Oh, there we are. Bizarre. I don't know why on my phone it was coming up saying it couldn't find it. I'm also not seeing it on. TweetDeck on my other screen. So I'm not sure what's going on there. But yes, it's a very nice setup. Let's put it that way. If I had some money, it would be great. Yeah, weird. Huh. It's not showing up on my TweetDeck stream for some reason. Bizarre. Don't know what's going on there. I now see it on Twitter, but I don't on the Twitter app on my phone, but I don't see it on my stream yet. Maybe the user phone. I was talking about the tweet that Maurice sent out. Don't know. So what I was going to say there though was we changed the entry point to. So previous release of Cake.Recipe was inherently coupled to running and only running on AppVeyor. That has been completely rewritten, and it now has support out the box for lots of providers. So let's have a quick look. So there is Azure Pipelines, there is GitHub Actions, there's running a local build, there is Team City, and obviously there's @var as well. And what you can do now within Cake.Recipe is you can specify which build system you want to use for doing the actual publishing of the items. So previously you were kind of restricted in only doing the publishing when you're running on @var. That can be changed now. So if your preference is to run on GitHub Actions and then have the releases published from GitHub Actions, you can do that by setting a parameter. The defaults are set up such that it still runs on @var as by default. And there's also, obviously, if you're running on GitHub Actions, you can be running on all three platforms. Similar, you can do it on @var as well. But you can specify that you want the publishing to happen when you're running on this CI system on this operating system. So you can do both of those. The default is @var running on Windows. That's when the publishing happens when it's a tagged release. So that's what that's for. So in order for that to work, we need to go over here and change from this to be target equals CI. Now, originally I had this as continuous integration. It's the hardest thing to spell and type, so Kim convinced me that it should just make it CI. So it's all good. Do not try to publish with the normal Git flow, as I found out that didn't work as it should with GitHub Actions. Ooh. I might have to speak to you about that one later. Have you raised an issue in Git version, Kim? Or that's that one done. So is that build complete? No, it's still running in spec code. Get in there. Manager. CP. It's getting there. So then next, what we want to look at is we want to look at switching over. So this is something that comes. This is where this kind of best practices that part of what Cake.Recipe has been working towards comes into play. So there's a couple of best practices in terms of creating a NuGet package that has source link enabled. So what that means is that will basically enable when you're debugging an add-in, you'll be able to grab the source from wherever the source code is linked. So rather than creating a fully embedded PDB that has all the debug information in it, you create one that's source link enabled so that it can reach out and grab the source code when you need it to. So it's a much smaller footprint because source code lives up on your source code repository, but it still means that the debugging experience is that bit easier. So one of the things that Kim added into this version of Cake.Recipe is the ability to enable fully deterministic builds with source linking. So if we have a look within tools and we look in here and we look in content again, then there should be one that's called deterministic, and there is a task that is called, trying to remember the name, enable deterministic build. So I'm going to grab that and we're going to run that, and what that's going to do is an error occurred executing task.net core test. We'll come back to that. So I don't know why that would be failing, but we'll come back to that. It could be related to what we have or haven't done so far. So let's do build with target equals that and see what that does. I asked about that in the Slack channel a month or so back and was pointed to an existing issue. Oh, okay, I don't recall that. Latest checkout task equals Need these lines for Git version to work in GitHub Actions. Next time, just noticed. Oh, is this the thing with the whole depth of the repository and things? Yes, I've seen that being used elsewhere. I know Maurice is using that for some of his stuff as well. So what this task is going to do, it's going to run through the projects that we have in the solution, and it's going to add in some additional package references, and it's going to set them things up so that it's all enabled. So let's see what this does. So what this is attempting to do now, I think, it's attempting to look to see what source link package is required. So if we look at what's changed here, then what we'll see in, for example, this one, it's added a package reference which is Microsoft SourceLink GitHub. So if we were using GitLab or one of the other supported repository systems, it will have added a different package, but Kim's task runs through that, figures out what's needed and adds it in. So it adds it into all of the project files within the solution that we're using. Then in this one, because this is the test project, it's also enabling Coverlet to do the open source to do the code coverage, and it's doing that because OpenCover, which was used previously within Cake.Recipe, it doesn't work cross-platform. So again, we're gunning for something that works cross-platform, cross everything. So Coverlet is what we're using to do that now. The other thing that's done here is also it's also added a directory build.targets file, because there is a slight issue with putting all those things together in terms of source link enabling something that works correctly for Coverlet, etc., etc. So there is a workaround at the minute, which is the creation of this directory build.targets file. We've added that, and I think that's the only thing that this task has done, because the other changes are the ones that we've made. So I'm wondering if that will fix the unit test issue. So let's run that again, and let's go and update the GitHub issue to say that we did that. So let's edit this to say that we we're going to run target equals, I still got it? I do. So we switch to that. Oh, that's interesting. I haven't had to do that yet. So I must not have been using there's more words to that, but that's effectively what we did here. Let's put that in there. Why have I not had to update my git version.yaml file? There's some breaking changes in the version of git version that we were using compared to the version that now included within Cake.Recipe 2.0. So that would explain why I haven't had to do that, because I don't have a git version.yaml file. So if you have a git version.yaml file, and I know that, for instance, Jericho on Cake.email, he had to make these changes. So let's go and see what he had to do. So over here in git version.yaml, although he hasn't updated this since 2000. But it is illustrating the point though. So you not got a branch for this one? Bizarre. If you are using this regex setup for finding what release branch, finding out what branch names are, that has changed between 5.0 point something and 5.6 or whatever we're now running on Git version. So you will get errors coming from Git version if you have a git version.yaml file that looks like this. Okay, so just something to keep in mind. The other thing that I want to do, I'm going to assume that that build's going to work. The next thing I want to do is I want to switch to using a embedded icon. So at the minute, if we look at my new spec file that I have here, then I have a new spec file that says here is the icon file that is going to be used. Okay. Nothing inherently wrong with that. We're using a CDN, we're using JSDeliver to find that icon, but NuGet packages going forward recommend that you embed the icon file directly into the package and source it from there. Then there is a new package that will do just that. So if we go over here and look at NuGet.org, and I try and remember the name of the package, I go up here and do Cake.Contrib.guidelines, I think it's called. Yes. So our friend Nils Anderson, has created a NuGet package that attempts to codify some of the things. So when I say attempts to codify some of the things, we have a Cake.Contrib/home repository, and in here we have some guidelines on best practices, suggestions, things that you should be doing. I think there's actually one called guidelines that make suggestions on how your cake add-in project should be set up for best practices, naming conventions, NuGet package icon, that sort of stuff, right? So what we're attempting to do, or what Nils is attempting to do, is he's attempting to codify that into a NuGet package. So if we add this NuGet package, it has, or it's gonna have, a bunch of targets, a bunch of includes, a bunch of things that will attempt to set up the project in the way that we, Cake.Contrib, suggest. Now, this suggestion is unashamedly stolen from the guys over at, let me get the URL, because I've still got to open a tab over here. No, is it this one? No, it's this one. If I steal this one. So I have a friend on Twitter called Howard Van Rooyen, who works at a company called Engine. Well, I don't know. I don't actually know how to pronounce the company name. Engine, I'm going to go with. And he pointed me at this, which is a NuGet package which codifies their best practices for the company. So within here, you will find things like, here's the editor config file they want to use, here's their icon that they want to use, here's setting up the props for the copyright, lots and lots of different properties that are all codified so that when they're brought into the project, they have a standard setup that's good to go. So what I'd suggested to Pascal and Kim and a couple of others in chat was, and Nils was kind of already looking at doing things like this, but the idea of adding it into a NuGet package means that it's in one place, and we can build on that. I don't understand why that's failing, but we're going to come back to that because I want to get this new package in. So I'm going to grab the package reference, which is here, and I am going to go into here because I haven't played with this package yet, and I've been told that once I add it in, I'll get a warning that I need to fix something. So I want to see it in action. So if I go over here and I go into this project and I go into SCS proj file, then let's go in here and Cake.Contrib. That's going to be one of the first one, right? So I'm going to add that in, right? Magic should happen, and in my problems, where's my problems? Here. I need to build it first. Remember private assets. So I probably do need to do that, yes. So let's do. Thank you. Why is that not coming? Go. I'm just going to copy this. What's an error? Hold on. So where's it? Getting that list. I seem to remember us adding that in, but I don't remember it working like that. So that's good. So what I'm expecting to have come up is, I thought it was a warning, but according to Kim, it might be an error. And that error will stipulate that we don't have the icon set up in the way that it needs to be. So what it will have done, hopefully, is we should probably look into renaming it eventually to have a common build tasks. Yes, I would agree with that. So I'm genuinely curious to see what this does. So let's, and if we can get this working, I have another package that I want to add in, but we'll come to that. Oh, look at this. Cake contrib, that is an error. So package icon is empty. Since you're using Cake.Contrib, the package icon should be set. Oh, look at that. So we've now got a new icon.png. That icon.png is the icon of Cake.Contrib. And what it's telling us we need to do is Cake.Contrib guide. Oh, look at that. CCG0001. Package icon is empty. So what it wants us to do is it wants us to go over here and don't actually know what I need to do here. I need to do something like package icon. Oh, if I go back to Cake.Contrib home, it tells me, doesn't it? I need it to be this, and I need it to be this. With adding this line in your add-ins, and your add-in CS prod should also contain a reference to your PNG file. We copy the item group, so let's do this. So that's going to be CS prod file is there, icon file is there, so that's going to want to be just icon and then package icon. Oh, hold on. You do not need the item group, only package icon. I don't need this part anymore. Interesting. So you're saying if I just do icon.png, package icon, like this. Is that all I need? I'm gonna wait for a yes on this. In fact, let's do a build. So we did that, and then back to here. We edit this again. Add Cake.Contrib dot guidelines NuGet package and add package icon to CS proj. Now we just need to write a URL resolver for cake.issues for this error to have the error in the report linked to a website. Oh, that sounds like a Pascal task. But the idea is with the Cake contrib guidelines package is to expand that out to encompass other things, to, like I say, to codify the not the rule. I'm hesitant to say rules, but essentially that's what they are. They are to document the best practices for making sure that your project's set up to fall into the pit of success, right? So the more things that we can put into that package, the better. Okay, so we've no longer got an error. So what I do need to do here though is I'm currently using a new spec file. So I'm going to want to change away from using that, because the reason that I was doing that previously was because I was taking control over what got added into the NuGet package. Now, because I've enabled source link, because I've enabled a fully deterministic build, I'm going to want to move away from using that new spec file. So what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to take the equivalent properties that I was setting within the new spec file and make sure that I put them into the CS_proj file. So if you're listening out there, if anyone in the chat can start putting into the chat what I need to put into that CS_proj file, that would be great. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and update this comment to say remove usage of new spec file or files for NuGet packages. Instead, we will run .NET Core pack. Okay, so in here, I'm going to want a license expression. It's going to be one of them. So I'm going to look at, Pascal hasn't switched over to using that. So if I go to another project that I have open, I was looking at one of Pascal's projects. Now I'm going to switch over to look at one of Kim's projects to steal what he's done. If I look in here, what do we have? Customization of the URL resolving is easy, but we probably need to have a documentation. I agree. So what do we have here? Basically going to go through generate documentation file is set to true. I have that. Run code analysis, that's a different one. Neutral language, run to add in. Basically I want to get some consistency over what I'm adding into here. You've got an assembly title. I'm going to steal that. And this is going to be Cake.NetVersionDetector add-in company. Steal that too. You have neutral language twice in Cake.warp, Kim. I don't think that's intended. So I'm going to not copy that twice. And this looks like a big property group. Let's borrow this and then we shall tweak it. Love it. I am lazy. Let's see why Kim is lazy. I am lazy, so don't want to update the year every time a new year comes around. I like that so far. So we said that copyright was, well, we didn't have a copyright attribute, so that's fine. So this was 2019. So that is just setting up the full year, so that's fine. Title is assembly title. Authors is, I think I tend to put in my pseudonym, which is get13. Copyright is full year there. Cake add-in for running self-contained binary that is for executing .NET. I'll get there. Version. Seriously, detect. So for anyone that doesn't know, .NET Version Detector is an amazing little utility tool for figuring out what .NET versions are installed on your machine. So it's available on Chocolatey, obviously, but it's from a company called Asoft, and it pops up a little window that basically tells you, oh, there's a new version. Oh, they've got a new version that includes what .NET Core version you've got as well. Oh, hadn't seen that. But you can run it from the command line. You can output it as a JSON file so you can get the information back, but the default is to pop up a little UI window that tells you what's installed. Awesome little tool for figuring out what's what on a machine. So let's put this into the comment here rather than that. Package icon, so that's the thing that we've just created. So let's borrow this then and put this in here. Now I noticed someone else did this. I think it was Matthias. Am I right in saying that the package icon URL is left in there because it's left as a fallback? Is that how it works? Oh, hold on, what's this? Gotcha, okay. Because question really is fallback and backwards compatibility. Okay, fine. So icon. Okay. Gotcha. Okay, makes sense. So we leave in. See, this is where I get conflicted because you're using that one. I was previously not using that one. So I will stick to what I had previously, which was the shortened version of the. Oh, it's still in the new spec file, isn't it? If I go over here to the new spec file, then I have the shortened version, which is this. So I'm not. There's a religious debate about whether we need that or not. So I'm just going to leave it the way it was. MIT is correct. Cake contrib .NET version detector. Cake script build warp .NET version detector self-contained. What other tags did I have in here? Cake build sounds good. The repository type is Git. That is .NET version detector. Package source URL. Repository URL has got .git on the end of it. Okay, beautiful. Package release notes. All release notes or can be found on our GitHub release page. Releases tags version. Love it. Development releases do not contain release notes. Please see the closed issues in this case. Oh, love it. Beautiful. Okay. Self-contained wouldn't be right for this one. Oh, because you're doing. Okay, fine. Okay. So I think I've got most of the things there. Something seems out of line. That's the proper group here. That over there. Better. So with that done, I should be able to delete this file. Go gadget delete. And then doing that, actually removes the need for this folder. We can delete that. And if I go over here, we should need to change. Assuming that you've done this, your recipe. Copy. So the change here just going through my head whether that should be defaulted. Just wondering whether we should be smart enough to say that if there is no new spec file for a NuGet package, we run .NET Core Pack. That's a job for a different day, I think. You've also got this. Which we want. I'm going to put that into our notes. Add parameter. Okay. I'll see you here. Should I be specific about that part? No. I'm looking at your most recent repository where you have said preferred build agent operating system platform family.linux. I'm not going to do that. Repository name, repository owner, should run CodeCov and should run coveralls. Should run CodeCov is now enabled by default as a result of Cake.Recipe. We should make a note of that. Edit. Check for usage of which is not required anymore. This is new fault. No. Should use target framework path is false. That's specific to running on Linux. Is that correct? Or source directory path. You need that because you're using src. Dual settings. Yada yada yada. Oh, see what you did there. Oh, sneaky. I see what you did on line 25 through 28 as well. That's sneaky. I like it. Okay, so if we do this now, I'm wondering if this is going to work, having done all those other things. If not, we need to dig into why the unit tests aren't running. But if it doesn't work, I'm going to skip to adding in the other package that I want to add in because I want to talk about it. So I need to remember the name of it. Let me find it while that's building. Let's go into. Oh, that's bizarre. Oh, we should fix that. So the other package that I want to talk about just don't like having the framework path overridden. Can't get NUnit to work. Okay, fair enough. So the other package that I want to talk about is from Kim. So this is similar to the Cake Contrib best practices guidelines stroke package, but this is an analyzer package that Kim's created that's more specific to Cake rules. So it's effectively what it's going through, and it's going to look for problems that are specific to how you're doing your Cake.addin, but it's not directly coupled to Cake.Contrib. Okay, so there's a kind of a dissemination there. But the benefit to this one is that it will apply fixes as well if it's broken. So what I want to look at, only for source files, project file. Got you. Okay, so this analyzer is specific to the source files of your project, not to the CS.proj file itself. I have said that correctly. I'm going to grab that, and I'm going to add that into my Cake.NetAnalyzer. No, Cake.NetVersionDetector. There's too many things flying around my head. C# source file specifically, maybe VB at a later time. Okay. So what Kim basically did is he dug into what it takes to create custom rules effectively. So it's analyzing the source code, it's figuring out whether things are not right, bubbling those up as warning stroke errors, and then also applying within Visual Studio, I'm assuming, and Visual Studio Code, maybe, fixes for how you can address them. Too many cakes, indeed. That's still broken. Okay, need to figure out why that's broken. But let's get this package added in to start with. So, oh, I wonder. Hadn't saved the recipe.cake file. So in here, this is Cake.addin.analyzer. Is that the name of it? Cake.addin.analyzer. So this is going to go in here. Okay. I'm going to save that. If I run the build again, if I have any, so help me out here, Kim. I think there's only one. Is there only one thing it's checking for at the minute? And that is for missing attributes related to the Cake.addin methods. Is that right? Cool. So both VS and VS Code. Okay, cool. So if I run this, two things. Okay, two separate attributes. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. So, oh, there's 3 problems already. Oh, that's fine. Those are just spelling mistakes or spelling typos. One for the alias class and one for alias methods. Yes. 1 error and 1 warning. Okay, cool. So let's see what we get out of this build. See what it does. Should, but maybe what we should do is we should remove one of those attributes to show how it bubbles up, if it bubbles up, to show what it does. So let's try that, shall we? Okay, so that succeeded. So if we go over here, then if I remove this line and run my build again, I think that's where it's going to pop up, right? You need this line. No, hold on. I've maybe not got it. Is that what you're telling me? Oh, look. Yeah, I probably don't have that. So let's close out some of these things. I don't even have a VS Code folder, so let's get that fixed. So just do it the hard way. .VS Code in here. Settings.json. Settings.json. So let me just see what we've got here. I like that one. Wasn't analyzers true. File encoding. code format, add white space around pipe. I have no objections to that. So let's pull this in and we will say what we did. Over here we have add Cake.AddIn.Analyzer package. Add settings.json file for code. Okay. I think I'm okay with it. I've got no objections to it. So in theory, what do we? OmniSharp configuration has changed. Would you like to? Yes, we would. We'll relaunch OmniSharp. So let's see what that does for us. So the file that we changed was this one. That way. So that was source, this one, this one. Required assets to build and debug are missing. Okay. Let's add them. So having done those two things, oh, we've now got maybe, oh, here we go, here we go, no, that's a different error. Oh no, hold on, it is there. So there's two things that we can fix. So the class .NET-version-detector aliases is not marked with a cake alias category. So if I click on this, what do I get under here? Oh, look at that. Add cake alias category attribute. Yes. Don't. Not where I would have put it, but I'm not sure if you have much control over that. Because I put it normally down in here, as close to the definition as possible. That's just the way I do it. But if we look at the differences between this file and what we had before, then obviously the thing that it wants is the name. So previously we had .NET version detector in here, and the suggestion here is obviously replace me. Genius. Genius. Love it. So I'm going to discard those changes so we get back to where we were. No idea, never tested it with XML comments. Okay, that's fine. So a couple of other things while we're here. So I'm going to add the word add-in to my workspace dictionary. And then this one, object initialization can be simplified. Sure. Let's simplify it. Okay. Beautiful. You should be able to right click on the warning to be navigated. I think I did know about that, yes. So if I go here, I think I can double click on it as well, right? Double click on it takes me to there. Or, by the way, you should be able to right click the warning to be navigated to the rule documentation. Oh, you added, oh, okay, let's put it back so that we can. So this one, I'm going to say add it to my dictionary as well. I don't want that. So if we go back to here, take this out again. So if I right click on this, no. I'm clicking and I'm right clicking. Oh, here we go. Contains functionality. If I peek the problem, class.net not marked with an attribute. I'm not seeing a way to get to the documentation. Try clicking on the C# at the end. Not seeing it. When I've seen it appear in this menu, but I'm not seeing it. I'm also not seeing it when I right click here. For now, let's put that back. And I'm tempted to build it again now that I've set that property in the recipe.cake file. If this doesn't work, I'm really not sure. But in terms of what's going into the Cake.Contrib guidelines package, we are talking about adding in a Cake.Contrib specific as an organization, like an editor config file and a stylecop rule set or stylecop.json file, so that there's some common rules again in terms of code style across the different projects within Cake.Contrib organization. There's lots of discussions to be had around what that's going to mean and how that's going to work. So that's not for today, but like I say, getting something out there which just had the package icon in it was where we started with that. And if there's anything that you wanted to add into the Cake add-in analyzer package that Kim has, feel free to reach out and talk to him on his repo, which I'm assuming is linked to here. So we go over here. I think it's just under Wormycorp. So Wormycorp, Cake.add-in analyzer is all in there. It's good stuff. Ooh, that's the other thing we need. Yeah, I've been reminded about the other things that I wanted to set up today. I'm not sure if we're going to have time for it if I haven't got this build working. So I'm going to come back to that. Because the other thing I wanted to enable here was GitHub Actions, to enable GitHub Actions to build this project on multiple operating systems. I'm not sure if we're going to have time for that though. So we shall come back to that maybe. What have we got in here so far? Okay. So there's another note in here that I want to add while I remember. Into here, edit. Some of these are not specific to enabling Cake.Recipe, but I think they are suggestions on good ways to go forward. Got to go, talk to you later. Have a good evening, Maurice. I shall talk to you later. I meant to text you earlier, Maurice, but I forgot. Based on what we spoke about before, hope everything is good. So in here we're going to say add dependabot config file, add GitHub actions. I'll put them in there while I can remember to do them. And anything else, Kim, while we're here that I need to do to see? I kind of want to do that as well. I want to edit switch to Cake.tool rather than Cake.exe. Oh, that test is still failing. Okay, let's see if we can figure out what's going on here then. I have ignored it long enough .NET Core test exclusive. That's not really going to help, is it? Cheers. Slack's one of the things I closed down to save some CPU cycles, but I'll check when I finish. I suggest, if we suggest to use Dependabot, we should also make sure something else than @var is used by default for building. Controversial, Pascal. Controversial. So like I say, some of these things in here are not required, but I do want to document them as potentially best practices. But I agree that maybe, I don't know. That's a discussion for later. If you get the time, could you open the project in Visual Studio and see if the link is... I can definitely do that, yes. Let me do verbosity equals diag stick. So into here. I like @var, but if Cake update comes, @var probably will build for several hours otherwise. Yeah, I know. There's definitely a loyalty thing going on. I don't know. Fyodor and Ilya have helped me out a lot in the past. I'm reluctant to completely move away from @var, but I'm also not giving them any money. I mean, I don't pay for their service, so I do feel a little bit bad that we run all these builds when we're not giving them any money. I guess my concern with switching to GitHub Actions with multiple builds on multiple operating systems, there is a cost associated with that once we go over a certain amount of minutes. Same, I think, on Azure Pipelines, so we'll have to be careful there as well if we're enabling multiple builds on multiple projects. So that's a discussion for another day as well. So where was I going here? This was GitHub. This is organizations, Cake.Contrib, .NET Version Detector, source solution. So we'll have here then, let's put a note, switch to running PRs. Let me take a note of that. Okay, so I was opening up this project in Visual Studio, but I think only inside a repo, not across the organization. Oh, interesting. Didn't know that. Okay. So what Kim is saying is that you can limit the amount of PRs that the Dependabot opens at one time. But Pascal's saying that maybe that's only on a per repo basis, not across an organization. So let's have a look at the aliases folder here, aliases file. And let's see if we can get a link to the documentation for the rule in Visual Studio compared to in Visual Studio Code. So if I were to take this out again, I thought I had taken it. I must have put it back in. We cut that. Save that. Using directives. Oh, that's a different job for a different day as well. Do I need to build for it to come up? Or, oh, I bet it hasn't restored the package. So let's, or it's not aware of the package. See a little yellow icon here. That helps. Building. Time 22 minutes past. Doing okay. Oh, here we go. Ah. So on here, if I hover over CBA 0001, oh, it's because it's a warning, but I'm not seeing it. So if I hover over here, I can click on it, and it'll take me out to Wormicorp. Look at that, beautiful. But in Visual Studio Code, I wasn't able to click on it. So I don't know if there's other work that needs to happen to do that. So, and if one of the dependencies used by all repos updates, this will result in nearly 200 PRs being queued in AppVer. Yes, it would. Yes. So we should probably, so, okay, it's in my list to do it. So it hopefully shouldn't come off of it. The class is not marked with, okay, so we did that. Okay, so I think that warning should disappear. I think it's thinking. Okay, so Visual Studio, it works. Visual Studio Code, it doesn't. Maybe some work for the, maybe some work for you there. In case of Cake, this will also create a PR for testing. Makes 20 hours. Yeah. I get it. I do. One or more tests. Index was outside the bounds of the array. What does that mean? In testing.cake 128. What does that mean? Something in there. Tools. Cake.Recipe. Content. Testing.cake. Line 128. Oh. Something in my test coverage filter it doesn't like. What does it not like in my test coverage filter? Did you have to make changes to this, Kim, when you played with? Oh, you don't override it. I think the link may have disappeared from VS Code because I downgraded Microsoft Code Analysis to support MS Build 16.4, so it's probably fixed in a later version, but isn't being used. Okay. So what is it in my test coverage filter that it doesn't like? If filter 0 equals plus sign, filter, splitting that on a empty space, splitting it on an empty space seems valid. Oh, is it that? No, can't be. Oh, I just seen the comment from Kim. Multiple spaces after each other, perhaps. I was just wondering whether it's a space at the end. Try that again. See if it was a space at the end. I'm gonna put that into my here, here. Check for trailing cases S coverage. I think we might be getting close. So, anything else, Kim, that you came across when you were playing with it on your most recent project? Anything that we need to capture, document, think about? Now's the time to include it, because the idea is that I can take this list and then create a new document in here somewhere, and build out some steps on what needs to happen, and then maybe some suggestions on how to move forward as well. Okay, so then in 32 minutes, can we enable I don't disagree. So Kim's saying, what you notice regarding the trailer spacing, I would regard a bug. So I don't think I disagree. Looking again at here, so if for each filter in there, oh, I see, because yeah, there'd be nothing there, is there? That should probably be handled. Now if I run a full build, okay, the other thing, while that's building and while I'm thinking about that, I want to look at enabling GitHub Actions. Oh, look at that. I'm getting a warning again. Oh, it was there and it wasn't. I was getting that warning about encoder overloaded. I'll try to get a screenshot of it, but it went away before I could grab it. So, so while that's building, if I go over here and I look at government here, so Kim has been dabbling with multiple different workflows within GitHub Actions. Oh, it's there again. Consider turning down video settings or using a faster encoding preset. I have no idea or why it's happening, but it does speak to having to change something, because running everything on my Mac just doesn't like it. Used to like it, now it doesn't. I don't know why. Okay, content. So what Kim created, oh yeah, okay, that's your, yes, interesting. Oh, so you enabled, have you got a bootstrapper in here that's running Cake.tool? You do. Okay, I'm totally going to steal those as well. Look at that. Okay, That's okay. Steal that too. So the workflows that Kim has are, one obviously is the build. So when we run a build, we want it to happen, but he's also got these other things which are for doing other actions within Cake.Recipe. So there's sometimes when you want to do things like generate release notes. My workflow is an overloaded term. What I tend to do is I normally just run that task locally on my machine. But by doing it on here, that means that you don't have to have all the variables, the environment variables, local on your machine. You configure them. Within the repository itself. So then anyone in the project can run the release notes really easily. So the idea here is that within actions, I could go to, say, the build draft release notes, and what I should be able to do is I should be able to trigger that workflow. So if there were parameters I can pass in, so this is one of the things that's reasonably recently added into GitHub Actions, where you can trigger a workflow directly rather than have it being triggered by a CI event. You can come up here and you can manually trigger it. So that's what Kim has been adding in. So I said to him earlier that I think I am going to unashamedly steal probably all of these. So let's have a little look, shall we? And let's get them added in. So I've got a .github folder. So in there, I need to create a new one called workflows. And then in there, let's have a look at all the ones he's got in here. And then we'll walk through what they're doing and get them added. So a little bit small, but if we come in here and this, oh, hold on. Is that a pull request for the bug that we've just spoken about, Kim, or is that something else? It's opening. You're too good. Okay, but this is the build.yaml file. It runs on a push to the master develop release hotfix and feature branches. It tags ignore. Oh, interesting. Okay, so you're preventing the build. I'm assuming that you are preventing the build from running in GitHub Actions when it's a tag build. Okay, runs on pull requests as well. Jobs build runs on Matrix OS. So here he's specifying that they're going to run across multiple different operating systems, being Windows latest, Ubuntu latest, and Mac OS latest. And then the steps within that build are to check out the to check out the source code. Now this might change based on what we discussed right at the start. So rather than fetch step 0, it might be something different. Yep, since it isn't needed to run them. Okay, so yes. Then we cache the tools. So in our tools folder, we cache so we do this in AppVeyor as well, that once the build runs, it restores a bunch of tools into the tools folder. We cache that, and it's going to key it off of a build.cake file. Let me read this properly. So key is runner.os tools, and then the hash of the files. Oh, that's the key. Okay, for the cache. I see. Okay. So then if this build.cake file changes, it will bust that cache. Am I reading that correctly? Should be, that's a good point. Should be recipe.cake. Then we set up .NET Core. So we install .NET Core, and then side by side we install .NET Core 3.1. So depending on what you're targeting, you might want to install one or more .NET Core SDKs. Then If it's Windows latest, we run rsync. Oh, sorry, if we're not on Windows, then we do some magic, which is to. I don't understand why that's necessary, but then that's showing my naivety about how .NET Core works on anything other than Windows, really. And then if we are on Windows latest, run, and we're copying a bunch of stuff to the root folder. Why would we want or need to do that? It won't bust it, but it won't restore it and eventually creates a new cache. Okay. GitHub Actions allows 5 gigabytes of caches total. Once you hit that, it will start deleting older caches. Oh, I see. Okay, fair enough. That magic is necessary to load side-by-side projects on GitHub Actions. So if we only had .NET Core 3.1, then these steps wouldn't be necessary. Fair. And then we're also using the Cake GitHub action to then run the recipe.cake file, and we're running Bootstrap. Okay. So in my project currently, we are targeting only Net Standard 2.0. So am I right in saying then in your project you were multi-targeting? In theory, yes, assuming every tool used can run on .NET Core 3.0. So that's why you were doing it. So it wasn't to do with what project you were targeting. Have a quick check what you were doing here. You were cross-compiling for that, but not. So you found the require. So okay, so let me understand what you're going on here. These side by sides were necessary because of the tools that we're using. If targeting .NET Core 3.1 only, you don't really need to install .NET Core yourself, as .NET Core 3.1 is already installed. Okay, so in my project where I'm targeting Net Standard 2.0, would that run on GitHub Actions out of the box, or would I need to install, as per this one, .NET Core 2.1? Oh, I see. So if I go, okay, so let me go back to your one. So in here, you're saying that in the test project, well, that's the integration test, it's probably not in that one. Maybe it would be. Let's go into this one first. Gotcha. Okay. So what have I got in my test projects currently? Okay. So my question then becomes, should I be running tests on both .NET Core 2.1 and what is there a guidance here? Should I be running on both of these? What's our thoughts on that one? I'll wait for an answer on that. Are you still there, Pascal? What's your thoughts on Pascal or Matthias? Should we target both .NET Core App 2.1 and 3.1? We've had a raid from Freestyle Coder. Hello, Freestyle Coder. How are you doing today? I added it because Cake.Tool supports. I see. So if we're switching to Cake.Tool, potentially we should target this. So what did you, out of interest then, what were you targeting for your lots of cake in here. Yes. Lots of cakes. Lots of cake in this stream. Currently working on Cake.Recipe and trying to get a 2.0 release of that up and running. Go out the door. For your test project as well, though, Pascal? Cake is a lie. So what were you targeting for your CS proj file here? So you were targeting NetStandard 2.0, yes. And then Netcore 2.1 and Netcore 3.1. So let's take a note to do that as well. And we will say ensure targeting NetStandard 2.0 for project and Netcore app 2.1 and Netcore app 3.1 for tests. Hold on. Right, okay, so we are talking about the same thing. So NetStandard for the main project and then Netcore whatever in the test projects. So currently Cake itself will target 2.1 and 3.1. So what Kim's suggesting is as a so you targeted Netcore 2.1 and 3.0. So was that, so where did the 3.0 come from? Is that because that is what 0.384 of Cake was targeting, and now we've updated that for the 1.0 release? Okay, I won't. Okay, so Kim's making a point though that 3.0 is end of life. So okay, I'm happy with that. So we target NetStandard 2.0 and 2.1 and 3.1 for project for the test. Okay, I'm okay with that. So, but for that purposes, then I would need to do the side by side in the build.yaml file. So in theory, then let's grab all of this, and I'm going to stick this into, how much time have I got left? 16 minutes left. Workflows, and in here I'm going to create a new file called build.yaml. I'm going to paste this in. There's at least one thing that we want to change, which was here is going to be recipe.cake rather than build.cake, and all of that good stuff. Okay, so the other files that we had in here, I think I can leave them out just now. I think I want to come back to them because I want to have a quick look at that one. So let's have a look at that one. So linter.yaml file. So Kim was talking to me about this the other day. There's a GitHub action called superlinter. Gotta love it, right? Superlinter runs linting across multiple different linters. So you must add the linter, in my opinion. So my issue with the linter though is it's sort of counter to what we're trying to do with Cake.issues. Am I not right in saying that? So if we add the linter, we won't get those appearing when we run locally. So with Cake.issues, if we run those as part of our build process, then yeah, you see what I'm trying to get at? I see the attraction of this action, but I'm also hesitant to start using it because that's really what we're trying to do with Cake.issues. Or what am I missing? Because in theory, all of the linters that they've got there, we might only be running 2 or 3 of them. So assuming that we run markdown lint as part of Cake.issues, if we run dupe finder, if we run whatever, all those will bubble up into our Cake.issues report. So Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this one yet. Ooh, controversial. Pascal, that's fighting words from Kim. I also find that linting through Cake.Recipe takes much longer than linting with superlinter. Okay. I mean, I can't speak to that one. So I'm not against it. I just want to question the usage of it, but I want to bring it up and let folks see it. Pre-release release notes, that's a manually triggered workflow that would run release notes, create pre-release. So that's a good one to have. I like that that's being added into the workflow. So I will come back and add that one in as well. Publish docs, that's forcing the publish. Yeah, so force the publish documentation. I like that one. I like having. I think that those are a good ones. Are they going into the? See, that's maybe coupling. Are those going into your Yeoman generator, Kim, or is there an option within the Yeoman generator to say add workflows? Because the way these are shaping up, I quite like them. So it would be good to maybe have them. Is not responsible only for porting, PR integration, breaking builds, etc. Okay, so I've got a build.yaml file. So in theory, I think the release notes creation requires a personal access token to be used. Can't use the default GitHub token. Oh, that's what you were talking about earlier, wasn't it? No, won't be added. Okay, fair. Right, I think I want to run this and see what happens. Due to the issue with hanging prompts. Oh, in the generator itself, you mean? So in here, this was going against issue. Even forgotten which issue it was. Issue 58. GH-58. Date. Cake. Recipe. As per issue document here. Take that and grab a link to this here. I'm on a branch. I'm going to say that. And then that go through? It did. So git status, git push origin, and put this into here. And then I'm going to try and remember and put it under my fingers, which is GAPR help. And then it is create. H and just create, isn't it? See what that does. Could not compute title or body default title, that's fine. GH58. Switch to Cake.Recipe. Go body E. Can't be bothered. Fixes 58. Oh, that's terrible. Submit. Okay, and then we should be able to do list, and then we should be able to do view web. Is that right? I think I did it. Oh, look at that. starting to get under my fingers with the GitHub command line client. I got there. Okay, so in theory, this should have kicked off a build on CI over here. And it failed. Well, that's not good. Got 8 minutes left. Git tools, git contrib. Why did that fail? .NET version detector. Okay. Well, that doesn't bode well, does it? Why is it telling me that it's got merge conflicts? Didn't have any merge conflicts. Why would it have merge conflicts? Very confused. Orange develop. Oh, that's not good. Git fetch. Oops. Thought I did this before I came on stream. Oh no. Oh no. Git check out develop. Git setup. Oh no. Git origin. Git checkout feature. Git develop. That merge tool. What changes were made upstream? Normal merge conflict. Okay. I don't want to use vimdiff. I don't really want to use vimdiff. What? I thought. Why has it not got my package on it? Second, while I try and fix my setup. There. Why is it not got? Should be easy to fix. In vimdiff? No, I don't think so. Yeah, it shouldn't be necessary though, Kim. It's one of the it's one of the things I set in my Git 13. One of the things I set when I copy. One of the things I set and I install this package. And I set it to kdiff, typically, because that's the one I know how to use. So let's try merge tool again. Good God, no. Can anyone talk me through using vimdiff? If I hit this. Git, that won't work. Git config Do I not need a global on that though? Dash G? No, what's the one I'm looking for? Dash dash global. Bizarre. I swear that's one of the things I set within this thing. The rabbit hole. I want to get this pushed. Chocolate A lib. Get config. Okay. What? Where's the chocolate install? I'm so confused what's going on. I'm just going to go and grab it. Come on, machine. Work with me. Copy. I think. These as well. Right. Fingers crossed. There we go. No longer using vimdiff. Good stuff. So what do we do here? So between there and there, we upgraded to 16.5. Okay, fine. So let's take C here, and then in here we're going to say that, and then here we'll say 16.5. 16.5.0, and then there, beautiful. Okay, it's up for grabs. No, what's that? Add-in request issues. What's tap? What did I miss? Add support to read test anything protocol files. Oh, there we go. I like it. I'm going to save that. I'm going to close that. And then hopefully I can then say git rebase. Continue. As sure. Go for it. Okay, git status. What are all those modified files? Blah 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 blah. Git. That won't. I'll get there. I'll come back to that in a second, Pascal. Thanks. What was one? Okay, so git status should be back to that, and git push dash f on origin. Okay. Tap equals file format superlinter rights. Interesting. Okay. So my next question is that workflow won't run until we merge it, correct? So in order to see that run, well, it's now running this though, so let's at least see that this runs. If it builds here, I'm tempted to put it in and then see if we can get the GitHub action to kick off and see if that runs cross-platform. So oh, it should work on my fork. That's a good point. Duplicate. So in here, I thought we put in feature there. Oh, there it is. It failed before, but let's. Uh-oh. The target framework value is not. Oh. The operation was cancelled. Oh, there's lots of failures in there. See if we can build down into that. Build project. A break. Core build. Oh, that old chestnut. That is exactly what I did. So annoying. Done that before as well. Previous. Frameworks. Frameworks. Yes. But it built locally. So which part? Don't. That doesn't make any sense. H50. Add missing S. No. Git push. So that will obviously fail across them all. So that will fail in here for the same reason. Yes. It failed on Windows as well. It failed in Ubuntu on GitHub Actions, but it failed on Windows as well. Windows is too lenient with mistakes. But the main part of this was to get the build working on GitHub Actions. So the build does indeed seem to be working. So that should kick off another build over here too. Add missing S. Let's see what happens. So in terms of publishing, and so Cake.Recipe will, out of the box, it will attempt to publish to GitHub package repository, Azure repositories, and MyGet. Now that might fail. The publish to MyGet may fail because of size restrictions on MyGet now, but we can turn it off as well. I maybe should just turn it off globally across all Cake contrib organization and just stop doing it. Maybe something I should do. No, .NET Core restore. What's that say? The current .NET SDK does not support targeting .NET Core 3.1. Either target .NET Core 2.2 or lower, or use a version of the .NET SDK that supports. So there's work to be done then on that. So how do we multi-target on AppVeyor? Can we multi-target on AppVeyor? What image are we currently using? Oh, I'm going to guess it needs that one. Hyphen 58. Oh, we should put that in our. Put that over on our notes here. Edit. Sure. There. So, how's our build going over here? Oh, it failed again over here. Oh dear. Build project. Not going well so far. Card. See, I was worried that was going to happen. My tests are failing. There's something in the tests that it works on Windows, but it doesn't work on Linux or Mac. Yeah, if I fix this, switch up there. It was something that I knew was a problem, but it's also something I've never forced myself to fix because I've never had to. But this scope of work, which is bringing in multiple operating systems for the build, means that I need to fix that. So I need to look into why, or what I'm doing in my tests, that they result in this happening. So the expected is C temp, which is obviously wrong, but the actual thing that came out was this. So I've done something in tests that's silly. So yeah, fix broken unit tests. I'm going to write that down as well. Fix broken tests. But anyway, I think I'm happy with what we did tonight. So in terms of where we got to, we've taken a Cake.Recipe 1.x project and we've moved it to use the latest version of Cake.Recipe. We've walked through all the things that we had to fix. We've added in a few other things, and yeah, this should be able to flow into the documentation for migrating from 1.x to 2.x. And then there's a couple of things that Kim mentioned you wanted to address. At least one other thing. You've raised a PR. There's one other thing that you wanted to do for Cake.Recipe. There's one thing that was on my table, which was to remove the usage of the GitHub password for authentication to the GitHub API, and then we can ship this bad boy. It's going to go. It's going to go out the door. On Unix, it needs to be prefixed with a / at a minimum. So let's have a quick look and see what my tests are failing at. So in my tests, so in here and in here. No, this one. Dun, dun, dun. So it was C. So this is broken essentially. So we would want this to be just resolve it into 3. Why would that run that picture? Bad planning, then, isn't really. That's just really bad planning. Output file path. So what you're saying is on Unix, when you use $, it thinks it's a relative path. You need 2 different editions of the unit tests related to path. Since on Windows, well, that seems like a okay. That's a job for a different day. I need to start closing things out because oh, did that get to the same point and fail then? What was that failing on? Shoot finder. Oh. I need to fix. We need to exclude. I thought it was excluding that. Oh, I'll need .tests as well. Fix that. Let's get a note of that. And here, and then I'm closing up. And I'm definitely going home. Fix finder exclude patterns for the targeting. So sorry, what was that? You need 2 different editions of the unit test related to paths, since you on Windows you can't have a / prefix, but in Unix you must. Or just use default configuration. I think assembly info is excluded there. I noticed that you weren't overriding that at all in your latest project. I tend to, so it is there, but I don't recall. Hold on, I should be able to. I should be able to tell what the. I should be able to find out based on documentation what the default is. So in my documentation, in my under, I forget where I put it. Tool settings. So in here, there's a default finder exclude pattern. absolute source directory. How is that different from what I've got here? Root path source. Oh, I see. So we exclude the tests. So why was I overriding it? So I've always felt, I've always needed to override it, but I can't remember why I've overridden it before. Okay, I'm going to push this and see if it works. PH-58. Again, why did this not? I must not have multiple framework. Why is that not failing locally? Remove, override, or exclude. Confused as to what's going on. Okay, fairly sure I built it all locally. Maybe just made it up that it was running, it was working locally. I'm not questioning myself now. I thought I did. Those are some of these in preparation. I genuinely thought I did. But now I'm debating. I'll let this run, and then I'm going inside. But this has been good. I've enjoyed tonight. I think it will stand us in good stead for getting the remaining Cake add-ins updated. So fingers crossed I can get all this working, and then get it all documented, get the remaining issues on Cake.Recipe merged in or updated, and then we'll ship it. All 5,000 of them, indeed. Indeed. I mean, there's no shortage of work to getting them updated. So if anybody wants to help out with that effort, I would more than appreciate it. It does. I don't disagree. We'll be using Jericho's Excel add-in discoverer, the add-in discoverer, to keep a track on where we are with all of those things. I'll start with my own add-ins, get them all updated, so I can get into a little bit of a routine in terms of what I check for and what needs to be updated, and then take that across all the other add-ins as well. That's a fair point. So yeah, apologies about that. I should have thought to speak to Matthias about it earlier. So I hope you didn't spend too much effort getting that updated or getting that created. Because yeah, it's unfortunate. See, the build works in that bear now. Now that I've fixed all the issues. And now in theory it should definitely run locally. Okay, so it's updated. And zooming then here and look at version detector. Code gov report. Look at that. So that's all working as well. Did work on quite some time, but at least I got around to testing out Cake.Frost. Indeed, I did look at that. I'm genuinely curious about how that could become a new suggestion going forward. So, and like I say, I've definitely borrowed some of the work that you did to get this one updated as well. So, like I say, obviously it's good if we're on the same sort of page in terms of what we're including and what we're not. So, obviously there will be some differences because different people have different preferences. But if we can establish a kind of a good baseline, I think that will help us out going forward. So, okay. That's all I have, I think. Like I say, we got to a good point with this list. I think this needs to be written up properly. I need to get my build running so that the unit tests work on the other platforms, and then from there we can get this added and pushed out and updated. So good stuff. Okay, thank you all for coming. Appreciate the help as always. But for now, I'm going to say good night, and we will see you on the internet. Talk to you later.